Hello everyone and welcome to the Dice Commando YouTube channel. I'm Andrew with you here as always. This video and others like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. Please show your support with a like and subscribe, and be sure to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any new videos. If you want to get involved with the channel, consider becoming a channel member. There are many benefits to channel membership, including access to our Discord, exclusive deck tech and strategy videos, and the opportunity to help create channel content. I want to sincerely thank all our channel members, as I truly couldn't do this without your support. You guys rock. Go Commando.
Hey folks, and welcome. Wow, we are here. So, man, 2K plus subs. So, but believe it or not, the first video we did was a gameplay video. It went up in July of 2018, and boy, that was a crappy video. Let me tell you what. We've changed a lot around here. We've evolved and created quite the little family, I think. So thank you everyone for getting us here. I mean, when I started out, the goal, like the long-term goal, was just to provide gameplay content and get to 100 subs, because at 100 subs you get your own URL, which make it easier for you to link. And here we are talking 2,000 some people in the family. We've developed a literal team of people. We've had to evolve through the pandemic, and it's been quite the run. So, as promised, tonight I'm doing an AMA, and Ask Me Anything. So we've had questions submitted by DC team folks, community members, and we're gonna cut right down to this. Now, the plan is to do this whole video after the fade out that we'll do here in a second. The plan is to do this whole thing uncut, with the exception of maybe getting up and getting another beer. So, just wanted to start off tonight by thanking you all for being here. For trusting and just being a part of this journey, for all of us to learn and enjoy and be here for gaming. So thank you all, and cheers. All right, folks. So let's do this. Man, it's hard to believe that it's July 2018, and it's closing in on summer. It's almost a 3-year run. Not the most aggressive YouTube subs out there, but I think we have a unique thing going here. A lot of good people, very different people in the gaming community, I think, and it's really great. So before I get into the questions, I have to give a shout out to, the reality is there's so many people to thank, but there's one person who really stands out, and that's Mike, aka Random Scrub. Everybody knows him as my buddy Mike. He was really here from when we decided to start off. I mean, he helped me, get stuff going. I mean, it was my idea to kind of do the gameplay, but he really helped get the whole thing facilitated, and then obviously, we decided to kick off the cast. I think the first cast was like late November of 2018, and that's really formed it since then. Now, Mike's obviously moved on to bigger and better things. He's still around, but not as like he used to be. But we wouldn't be here without Mike, very clearly. So thank you, buddy. We actually don't have it scheduled, but we have penciled in games, so he's definitely still very much a part of my life and an important part of that. So, very first, so what I want to do, the way I want to do this, like I said, we're just going to keep rolling, and if I screw up, I screw up, right? But what I wanted to do is I want to kind of start out with some overall questions that I've gotten a lot through the years, and then we'll actually go into the actual questions that were submitted by people. So, the question I've probably been asked the most over the years, besides why are you such a jerk, and I'm kind of kidding, but no. So the question I've been asked most through the years is what is Happy Puppy Brewing? What is Happy Puppy Brewing? And it's funny, actually, from time to time I get hits on that Facebook page, which I set up a long time ago just as kind of a fun thing. Happy Puppy Brewing is my home brewery. My buddy made the logo for me a long time ago. Actually, I brewed a batch of beer last weekend, and I was going through my old recipe book, and I've been brewing for 10 years now, which is kind of crazy too. But yeah, so that's all it is. It's just my home brewery, a little bit of fun. My wife had the hats made up for me. My wife Amy had the hats made up for me, and t-shirts and stuff like that. But it's just a little fun thing we do. It's not a professional brewery. You can't buy it legally, or in actuality. You can have some for free though. But anyway, so yeah, that answers that. So community frequent question comment. Who are you? Where are you from? Is the channel your income? Do you have dreams of being a professional YouTuber? I'm Andrew Heinz. I am from, that's an interesting question. I live in Portland, Oregon. I think most people who watch regularly know that. I live in Portland, Oregon, USA. I'm actually from Portland, Oregon, USA, but I've not lived here my entire life. I was born here, and I went to school in Louisiana, in New Orleans, where I was there for 8 years for both undergraduate and graduate school. And I've moved back, and very recently we made a move, and I actually live, believe it or not, I live across the street from where I grew up. My parents still live there, and we had an opportunity to buy the property and build our own house. So that's where we live now. So I've literally come full circle in my life, and I live across the street from my parents, and I can take care of them, and it's a really good situation for me. And my wife deals with it too, and we kind of have built-in daycare, kind of. So that helps. Is the channel your income? Absolutely not. I don't think people realize when they get into, like, I never got into this with the intention of making money. I really didn't. But I think a lot of people, when they get into this, they don't realize how hard it is. And then how hard it is to even get to the point where you can make money. And then once you do make money off it, I don't think they realize how low the returns are from like a real point of view. So no, it's not. I do have a real job. And hopefully those of you, I mean, I think most people know that, but, there's a reason that we, do things the way we do. And a lot of times it gets dark in the sun's going down right now, right? Because I don't shoot during the day. I work during the day, right? Do I have dreams of being a professional YouTuber? I don't think so. And the reality is, even if I did, it's really just not practical because, again, of the amount of, I have a lifestyle and I have a career and I have a job, right? It's just not really my dreams, but I do enjoy doing what we do here. I think that we have a good thing going, as I've already mentioned several times at this point. Community frequent question comment. Whistling, loud breathing exhales when on headphones, especially like during gameplay. I've started using this again because when we moved away from, for a pandemic, when we moved into doing stuff at home, I was on my computer, I was on my headphones all the time, and I got a lot of bad feedback about that. A lot of bad feedback about the bad feedback. So I was, if you may not notice, but looking closely, it's this, here we go, this nostril. So I was born with what's called a hemangioma on my nose, which is basically just like a large blood vessel. And when I was a small child, it burst, which was expected. So my nose used to be pretty messed up. So I've had two reconstructive surgeries over the course of my life, and that's just the way my nose is. It just makes kind of a whistling sound when you do like a, right? Probably heard it there. That's just who I am, and it's just who I am. You're a teacher. What do you teach? I thought you were an engineer. You're a teacher. Wait, I'm confused. Yeah, so I am kind of a teacher. I don't want to take credit for being a teacher because teachers do a lot of work and they take a lot of flack. And the teachers that are, you guys know I'm pretty realistic. There are a lot of teachers out there that don't do a very good job. Or there are some teachers out there that don't do a good job, but the ones that do a good job are way underpaid. They work way too hard for what they do, and they don't get enough credit for what they do. So I'm not trying to claim to be a teacher. But I do volunteer teach. In the second semester of every year, I volunteer teach an engineering class at the local high school, which again was the high school that I went to, where I went to high school. I teach an introduction to engineering class. So I've actually written a textbook. It's like a 400-page textbook I've written designed to teach adept, it's called Introduction to Basic Concepts in Engineering for Adept High School Students. And it's targeted, as you would imply, kids who are looking, juniors and seniors primarily, who are evaluating a career in engineering. The intent is to give them the basic tools that they need to survive the first 1 or 2 years in engineering school. When for the first 1 to 2 years in engineering school, you're basically taking, for the most part, the same classes as everybody else, and then later on you'll diverge. So the intent there is to give them the tools that they will need to walk into those classes and not be caught completely off guard, right? And then try to mentally prepare them for what they're going to do. So like I said, it's just a volunteer gig. I, of course, do have a real career that I do during the day. So that's something I've been doing that. This was, the year of the pandemic was the 5th year, and this year I'm doing it again, but that's the 5th year. It's because we actually stopped halfway through last year with the pandemic, thinking the pandemic was going to not be as long as it was. So we paused that, and then I came back this year and I needed to finish it because a lot of those kids are going to graduate. So I'm doing that this year, and doing the virtual thing has been a lot of work as well. So yes, I do that, especially during spring semester, right? Things get real rough trying to manage everything with my job and the channel and the class. But the class always takes priority for me with over channel stuff, because we're just here to game, and teaching the kids who can potentially save our global warming problems and stuff like that, I think is way more important. So yep, that's what I do there. Monetization and mid-roll ads. How does that fit with your philosophy? Why some bids and not others? Dislikes. Yeah, so I think this one's an interesting question. I generally, you guys may know, I generally shy away from mid-roll ads. I personally don't like when my gameplay, especially gameplay videos, I don't like when stuff's interrupted with a mid-roll ad. But what you might not know is that it actually takes additional clicks. You have to actually go in and make it in the way YouTube is set up. When you go upload a video, you actually have to go, and I'm showing it right. I'll show it right now. I'll do it with post editing. You have to actually go through and make additional clicks. And it does happen sometimes that I forget clicks. And it's very funny. Sometimes the videos, like the Destiny videos specifically, where we have mid-roll ads, generally get dislikes. 1 or 2 people won't like them. And that always hurts a little, because I think I've proven over the last several years that I don't generally do that, but sometimes I'll go in and misclick it, or I'll miss it, or for some reason the click won't save or whatever. So, but yeah, that does happen. I have been putting in mid-roll ads on a lot of the Flesh and Blood videos. The reason for that is just, honestly, it's just the different styles of the community. The Destiny people that are still here are a lot more loyal overall, and the Flesh and Blood players that we've seen so far tend to be more monetary focused, and as such, they don't seem to mind the mid-roll ads. So we'll run with that. Plus, they have smaller viewership, so we'll run with that for the time being. But as a general rule, right, again, for the tenths of cents that we're making off of a video that I post, adding an ad doesn't really change my life in any way, right? So it doesn't matter to me to have a mid-roll ad and interrupt your gameplay. That's that. But again, sometimes it'll happen because I'll forget or I'll miss the box. It does happen. So, what happened to the DC panel chats, DC chats, etc.? Man, DC panel chats is something I still want to do. I've been working on it. It's been very difficult to get off the ground because we've been so freaking busy. Since I picked up Fab and ARH has kicked off for Destiny, we've been busy. There's constantly videos to do, which is not a bad place. Very, very clear, is not a bad place to be as a content creator. But I've got a full up schedule. What about the Commando News Network? Yeah, this one I feel bad about. But quite frankly, I have, within the last couple months, I moved into a new job role, kind of. Basically, I took over a different process module. And I've been putting in a lot of work, trying to keep on top of that. Plus, again, like I said, it's springtime. And when I hit springtime, I automatically lose another 12 to 14 hours a week for class, right? Trying to get prepped, and then the actual teaching, and then the interacting. So Commander News Network just kind of died on the table. And that's why. And I think that's fair, right? Again, if we don't get our, nerd news, I think we'll be okay if the kids can, learn. So that's that. Community frequent question comment: Destiny, Smash, and solo mode. Smash has been a huge hit. I'm really, really proud of what we've done with Destiny Smash. I was really excited about solo mode. I actually had another one in the pipeline, but the community reaction from solo mode was very negative. I almost stopped being a content creator that weekend. I almost just stopped and walked away from Destiny altogether that weekend. There was one individual in particular from, it doesn't matter where he's from. There's one individual in particular who really rubbed me the wrong way. He reached out and he's like, "Why is it taking you so long to get this into TTS?" And I'm like, "Because I'm literally working." He pinged me at 10 o'clock on a Friday morning or something. And he's like, "Why is it taking you so long to do this?" And I was like, "Because I'm working my real job right now." Right. And he's like, "Oh, well, it only takes me 15 minutes to do it. So I don't know what's taking you so long." And I was like, "Well, you know what? Screw you, buddy." So I actually shut down the website that weekend. And anyway, it wasn't just that one guy. It was you would have thought I was a customer service rep that weekend, with everybody dealing with the requests and them not being able to get things to print correctly, and it was a disaster. So solo mode's dead. I'm not working on it anymore. I've been working with Julio from Aegis Creative to get some of that stuff printed, and then people hit him up. They want the solo stuff printed. I gave him approval. He can do it all he wants. But he comes to me and he's like, hey, I need you to go back and revamp all this stuff and make it higher DPI and all this. And I was like, you know what? I just don't care. I'm sorry. Like, the community, like, I'm not even seeing anything from it. And you want to go make money off of it. And the community doesn't appreciate what we did. They just want free stuff. So, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just done with solo mode. I mean, but on the other hand, in this one, on a positive note, Destiny Smash is alive and kicking. Yes, this will go up Saturday. So yesterday, we had the interview on Destiny Smash Phase 3, which is coming this summer, right? I mean, this is Destiny Smash, I think, is going to be the long-term legacy of Dice Commando, I think, from the Destiny standpoint, and that's very, very exciting. Major plans for channel future. It's a big question. When we did our last State of the Channel update, I kind of laid out a bunch of plans I had for this year, and I've basically ticked off none of those. I really do want to get those panels going. I also will talk about Commando. There's some questions later on about Commando Con and stuff like that I want to do. But the plans for channel future are to get back to IRL gameplay recordings while supporting the current thing that we've created. We have a great thing right now with our TTS play for Star Wars Destiny. So I want to do both, and I think we can. I know we can do both, right? Because IRL is not going to be as frequent. And the systems we have in place work, right? So the plan is to do both, right? I'm a gameplay-focused channel. That was always the charter. And it's gotten to the point where I like getting on here and talking to you guys, but I want to get back to IRL gameplay, right? Let's get some real card games recorded. All right, what is your favorite type of beer from Blind Squirrel? So I'm actually drinking it right now. IPA is my favorite. There's a brewery off the coast of Oregon that is my favorite brewery right now, which is Pelican Brewing. They have a double IPA, which is called Beak Breaker, and that's what I'm drinking right now. That's generally my go-to. You can generally get it for $7.99, but I do get beer deliveries every other week from my buddy at Bunsen Brewer. If you're a longtime channel member, you've heard of them before. We've actually shot videos there. Good guy over there, too, and we love you, Sean. Why haven't you watched The Mandalorian yet? So, by the way, I randomized all of these, so I know what the questions are, because obviously I made the bubbles, but I randomized all these, so I don't know what order they're coming in. Why haven't you watched The Mandalorian yet? Jigglypunk, that's a good question. I probably should have. We don't have Disney Plus. My wife's had Hulu since forever, and she has she's on some old plan that's like really cheap, and it's no commercial version. And we looked into upgrading that, like the Hulu plus Disney, and then you had to get a commercial thing. And anyway, it wasn't on our to-do list, and she was pregnant and just other stuff to do. So we will, I know my sister has it. Maybe one time I'll go visit her and binge, but we'll watch it. I do hear my girl Bo-Katan's in that. So I know that Bo-Katan's in that. So we'll go see that. Blind Squirrel again, 2 in the top 3. Do you think Fab has the legs to be the 4th big TCG? That's a very, very interesting question. And here's where I'm going to get all my dislikes from the Fab people, right? Because it's I think first off, I think LSS is an amazing company. I think they're doing a lot of things right, and I think a lot of the stuff that they're going through right now from the quote-unquote negative is just growing pains. And I think that there's a big problem in the community right now, in the Fab community, that when you say, hey, this probably isn't great, they think that you're saying that their dog is a bad dog or something. And once we get over that from a community standpoint, where feedback can actually be given openly, I think LSS will actually improve more. So right now I do see that. Honestly, I see community as a significant. I see there to be 2 obstacles that Fab has to overcome in order to be a big TCG. One, the community has to get their stuff together, because the fact that you're saying the 4th, I think, is relevant, because there are the other 3. And a lot of people who were piling into Fab, at least early, maybe not right now as much, but a lot of people that piled into Fab early were essentially outcasts / rejects / refugees from those other games, and they didn't want those communities to be like that. And as Fab grows and pulls in people from those other communities, it's starting to get kind of toxic again. So I think that's one thing that, or not again, but starting to get a little bit towards that. So I think that's one thing the community has to figure out how to overcome, is to make it a little more welcoming. The second part is from that welcoming standpoint, in that Fab's really, really hard. It's very, very hard, and it's not like you guys may, if you followed the Fab stuff on the channel, you know that Amy and I tried to get in it together, and at some point she just came to me and she's like, look, I don't enjoy the game. I just don't. She just didn't see it. and that's fine, right? And I think that's a good thing to note, because Fab, again, is pulling, like, I don't know very many people who haven't played games before who are getting into Fab. It's mostly people coming from other games, right? And at some point, Fab is going to have to turn that corner where they can bring in new players, not just cannibalize from other games, right? And maybe cannibalize is the wrong word, but if Fab is dependent on those other games in order to, so like, let's say the model is Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! Bring in players, and then they convert over to Fab, that's still means that Fab's dependent upon those games, right? So that makes it very hard for Fab to break in. Again, this is all just my opinion. Like, this whole thing's my opinion, right? But I think that as long as Fab is dependent on pulling players from other games, it doesn't matter if Fab's a better, like, I think Fab is a better game than all of those, quite frankly. I don't think it's a better product than Magic just because of how big Magic is. I think it's, again, just because, like, I don't think Fab can ever beat Magic. Like, Magic's its own thing. I do think it can outclass. I think it's a way better game than the other two, and I think that's why it'll continue drawing players in. But in order for Fab to really become elevated and really get in there, I think Fab has to have a pipeline to create its own players. And I think that it's too hard for a new player, especially a young player, to just pick it up. It's very attractive. I think it's very attractive for a new player to come in and collect stuff, but I think in terms of actually being a player, I think that's hard. So we'll have to see. I mean, if you'd asked me 2 years ago when I was first starting out with Fab, if I thought that there were going to be cards selling for $20,000, I laughed at you, right? But it is. So I mean, we'll see where it goes in the future. But I think that's a very good question, actually. Thank you for asking that. I think it's a great question. Who was your J-Tanger? Man, never let me down. Who was your high school celebrity crush? Man, I gotta be honest. Well, first off, I had a girlfriend in high school for like the last 2 years, so I was, doing what young high school boys do, and I wasn't too worried about the celebrity crush thing. I also didn't watch a lot of TV because I was playing sports. I ran cross country and track, and I swam, and I had a job, so I didn't watch a ton of TV. My high school celebrity crush. I don't know, man. I think I gotta let you down on that one. I don't know. What I can tell you is who my posthumous high school celebrity crush is. I went to school with Katie Sackhoff, and man, her in Battlestar was freaking awesome. She was a year older than me in high school, and obviously I was a sopping like 110 pounds soaking wet. So, and she was one of the cool kids. She had no interest, and I wouldn't have. I mean, it didn't even compute anyway, but. Yeah, so we'll count that as a high school celebrity crush. My posthumous high school celebrity crush. Nathaniel, what are some dead games you've had to pitch that were a lot of fun? What drew you to them? My favorite game of all time, still hands down, is 7th Sea. That was a pirate-based game. That's actually what drew me to it. Was it looked really cool. It also had a unique mechanic back in the day, which was that you started with stuff in play, which obviously has become very, very popular even for like Commander and stuff like that in later years. But you start with your captain and your ship, and you shot cannons at people, and you could board them and stab them, and it was a fantastic game. Yeah, I still have all my cards. I've sorted them for the purpose of like putting them on eBay, and I've just never gotten around to it. I have an embarrassingly. I would wager that because I know there are crazy people out there who have. Well, I mean, I'm a crazy person in this case, but like I know there are people out there that have tons and tons of collections, but I would wager my collection of 7th Sea cards is one of the top in the world, actually, at this point, which is kind of sad considering I haven't sold it, but it's probably not worth anything except to just me. But yeah, I love that game, man. What a great game. So Jigglypunk again, favorite Star Wars item outside of Rebels. Yeah, both Amy and I really, really, really liked Clone Wars and Rebels. We kind of enjoyed it together. She really liked Ahsoka. I think a large part of my enjoyment was her enjoyment of it and kind of being our thing together. So both of those properties, my favorite movies, hands down, Rogue One. I think Felicity Jones did a fantastic job bringing vulnerability to her character there. Felicity, am I saying the name right? The actor name? I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm blanking on the actor name. I'm get like eaten alive there, but I think she did a fantastic job with Jyn. I think Cassian was okay. I loved the scene at the end, and I will rant on this for a second. The scene at the end when the Flame are coming to them and they're embracing, I loved that scene. A lot of people are like, wait, they've been fighting the whole time, and then now they're suddenly lovers. And like, you're misunderstanding the scene. They weren't lovers. They weren't kissing. They just had a mutual understanding of what they'd done and what was coming. And I loved that that whole movie. And it was just well done. It was well timed in the Star Wars universe, leading right into New Hope. So that's my favorite movie. All right, so this is a double one because two guys asked the same question. So. How did you get into content creation? Were there any barriers to overcome? That's from Simon. And what made you decide to start the channel? Yeah, so for Star Wars Destiny, we got into it from a gameplay standpoint, right? That was the original charter. And it was because some of the big players in Star Wars Destiny content creation at the time were all TTS based. The majority of them were. And Star Wars Destiny is an amazing game when you get it on the table. Those big clunky dice, the sound of right, the dice rolling. Was really important to me. The only other person at the time doing it was T3 Gaming, Symbio, who now lives in Portland, but I haven't seen him in years since he gave it up. But he was doing it. He was doing IRL gameplay. The problem was, or not the problem, he did a great job, but he did like live audio recording. And I didn't, at the time, I didn't like hearing the stuff in the background because it made me, just the way my hearing is, it made it hard for me to understand what was going on. So I wanted to start one where I did commentary, and that's how we got started. So I wanted to maintain Destiny's identity and kind of do it in a different way. And people were on board, obviously, because we got the start. For Simon's, what were their barriers to overcome? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. And I know you're kind of getting into content creation too, as well, with your Fab podcast. I don't know what a podcast is, but I think it's kind of like a podcast. I think the biggest barrier to overcome was emotional, especially doing like I made a lot of missteps over the years, and most of them were me being a jerk, right? Or oversensitive. My main thing early was that. So I know you're not doing gameplay, so I'll speak to just that in just a little bit. But the main problem with gameplay is that people are watching gameplay and they're like, oh my god, this stupid freaking moron made a mistake and blah, 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 blah. Right? And like, if that person were to sit and record 3 of their games, they'd probably find 6 mistakes, right? But the fact that their game's not being recorded means it just goes on and nobody ever catches it, right? So the minute you sit down and you put something on video, it's caught there forever for everybody to watch. I mean, let's not forget, guys, that like I think it was 2018 maybe, I don't even remember which one it was, but one of the big East Coast tournaments, it was like the Nationals or something, North American Championships, I think it was, actually was recorded, and like they made a huge mistake, like not paying for something. And they had like 3 or 4 of the best judges in the world, not to mention most of the best players in the world standing around this table watching, and it was caught on stream. And immediately like the internet goes crazy, right? And it's like people make mistakes in games. And I think that was the biggest thing for me to overcome, because people would be freaking brutal to some of our players. And then what would our players want to do? They wouldn't want to be on stream, which means we wouldn't have content to give. So yeah, I would go for the throat, right? I'd kick people off the channel and make their comments invisible, and because it wasn't worth it, right? So that was a hard thing for me to deal with, was that not everybody's nice and not everybody's very forgiving. But again, I think that was probably, like, to answer your real question, I think the biggest barrier was, in retrospect, I still get heated and, kind of a jerk from time to time. But I think the learning to have a thick skin and remember that, you only, like, if you do something right, nobody cares. If you do, well, I shouldn't say nobody cares. 99 people care, but they don't say anything, right? You're only going to get comments. You're only going to get feedback generally when somebody doesn't like something you do, right? You'll have, 100 people watch your video, 6 of them will like it, and then the 2 people who didn't like something will dislike the hell out of your video, right? So that, I think that's been something that's taken me a long time to get over that. So I guess that's the advice I would have. I mean, I know you're not technically asking for advice, but as you get into content creation, I think that's probably the advice I would have, is don't, basically have a thicker skin than I did. I mean, I still, don't do things right all the time, but I don't know. That's just my thoughts. We're here to be honest, right? All right. In the past, Destiny groups often created deck construction challenges for casual events. Yeah, we did plenty of that as well. If you could organize something like this around ARH, what would you choose? Oh, that's interesting. I'd probably, the easiest one is, what I would not do is 40-40-40. I think 40-40-40 is busted, is all belief. It's like taking everything that's wrong with Infinite and multiplying it. So that's not what I would do. I'd probably do the hero-villain thing. That's usually a popular one to mix that. We're, of course, talking Star Wars Destiny here, people. But I'd probably do the hero-villain thing just to see how that kind of flushed out. But, build challenges, theme challenges are always... That was actually one of the funnest memories I have of Star Wars Destiny. That Wookiee smell. How did you meet your wife? How long have you been married? Yeah, so we met. We both work at the same company when we were set up by a mutual friend. We got married about a year. Well, we got engaged about a year after we met because we were both pretty old. I'm almost 40. She's almost 40. And we both knew we wanted to have a family, so we moved pretty quick on that. How long have we been married? Shit, I hope she's not watching this. I think it's 3. Well, I don't know. I lost track in the pandemic. We're close. I think it'll be 4 in... See, but again, we got married and met so fast that sometimes I get the actual, like, the first year. We went to Hawaii. Yeah, I think it's 3. I think it'll be 4 years in October. Sorry, babe. Love you. If you were in charge, so Liquid Snake, if you were in charge of designing a new mechanic and faction new color for Destiny, what would you bring to the game and why? Yeah, so green. I actually think green was kind of creative. I got to give him credit for that. Probably what I would do. I'll tell you what I would not do. I would not do multicolor characters. I think that would be broken, especially with the way Destiny works. It would be interesting if Destiny went to if Destiny were to go to a phase where every card of a color required that color to be spotted, then I think multicolor characters would work. So I wouldn't do that. I honestly, I'd probably go with green. I thought that worked really well. Looking over the Wild Horizon set, I thought that worked really well. I know that's kind of a cop-out to your question, but I think that's probably the right way to go in terms of bringing a new color. I do think that Star Wars Destiny probably would play okay ad infinitum, just with the 4 colors it has now, right? But the 3 colors it has now. Riceman, what unit would you bring into Legion? The probe droid, Imperial probe droid. I would bring that. I think it would be really cool if it had just a single unit or a single model unit, and it had infiltrate and incognito. And it could basically do the Sith probe droid thing where it puts, it's escaping me now, but it puts the reverse aim tokens on whatever. The hell are those? Exposed tokens? Something like, I don't know. You guys know what I mean, right? So I think that'd be really cool. Plus, I'd like to paint that model. I think that model would look really cool. I'd really like to see that. Chromesto, what card tabletop games do you play actively? So Destiny. So actively, I play Destiny. I play Magic online on Arena. I've played it in paper a couple times. Thank you, Derek, for lending me your cards. But so Destiny, Flesh and Blood. Destiny and Flesh and Blood are my 2 big ones. Star Wars Legion, I play sparingly, but put a lot of effort into that in terms of painting to kind of let my mind calm down. And Magic, Destiny, Fab, Legion. And then there's an online game I play, which is based like on my phone, just when I'm like getting ready for bed or something. And what is that called? That's called Warhammer Legions, I think. Horus Heresy Legions. I play that. That's just an online game, but it's a card based game on my, and that's I've been playing that for a long time actually. Eric, in the cast during the intro, we often see you talk but can't hear. What do you say on those bits, and why? Is it for sound testing or something? It is not for sound testing. Actually, the way I shoot my casts, the hardest thing for me in shooting casts is getting started. So what'll often happen for me, that's actually why over the years I've developed the kind of the format where I do the intro, we do a cut, and then we go into the main part, is because sometimes it takes me 5 or 6 tries to get through the intro, especially when I'm here alone. Right? When you're here alone, you don't have anybody to interact with. It can be challenging. to get things just the way you want it, because you'll have something in your head and what'll come out of your mouth isn't quite what you wanted, but you're trying to do it, in a nice way or like an organized way. So yeah, sometimes I'll shoot those over and over. So what you're seeing in the break when I keep the roll going, because what I did, where that came from in the Commando cast was Mike and I would do the intro, and if the intro sucked, we'd stop the camera and we'd shoot it. But then we'd leave the camera rolling during the break, and you could see us laughing and talking and making our plans, which I thought added character to the cast. And then we'd roll in on the beginning. So I kind of just kept that tradition going. But what you'll see generally when you see me talking is I'll start and I'll get maybe a couple sentences and I'm like, nope, I screwed it up, or that was not the order I wanted to go into. So a lot of times when you're seeing me talk is actually a cut take of the second, or the intro into the main part of the cast. So that's what that is. Bassmaster, what is your workout routine? I've seen pictures of you running, color me impressed. Yeah, so right now it's not great. I've gotten not serious bad shape, right? But I'm not in great shape right now after the pandemic. So when I was in the best shape of my life was a couple years ago when I was running with my dog. For those of you who don't know, my dog Turbo and I used to run 5Ks together. Turbo's actually, he's retired now. I retired him 2 years ago because the amount of running we were doing to keep him competitive was a lot. But he's one of the more decorated dogs in the Northwest. We've driven all over the Northwest to go do races together. We ran our big one was the Straight 800, which is a great race in Eugene where it's 800 meters, but it's straight on street, and you can actually see the finish line from the start. It's super cool because it's all flat. Him and I ran that together. My all-time lifetime PR 800 with a dog pulling me. I was basically like a rag at the end. But we ran that in a sub 2 minute. That was a great one. But yeah, he was a great runner. So that's when I was in the best shape of my life because I was single at the time, which is always a huge advantage, and I was not eating lunch, and I was going to the gym at lunch. So I regularly go to the gym at lunch, at least when I'm at work, which has been part of the problem this last year. So I'll go to the gym at lunch, and then I wasn't eating lunch because I didn't have time. So that helped. So it was down on calories, and I was lifting at lunch, and then I was running after work. So I was hitting 2 a days there. And then because I didn't have time to eat and stuff, like I've never eaten breakfast. I've never been a breakfast guy. So I would just do like a protein shake in the morning. And then what I did, I started supplementing like an early afternoon protein shake. And then I just have like a late night dinner. So I was in pretty good shape. I was at like 160. Anyway, so that's the routine. Like I said, I'm not, since I've retired him, my motivation to run has been lower, and him and I aren't running as many miles. And then obviously with the baby and being tired all the time, like some days I just wake up and I don't want to go running. So that's that. But yeah, man, 2 a days, that's the way to do it. All right, Jigglypunk, did anyone from your local stick with the game through COVID? Thinking of Braven and others who were often featured in IRL videos. I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't have high hopes that we will have regular tournaments. What I do think is, stuff like Galactic Grunts, which I propose, and some of those theme type stuff, I do think will come together for those type of things from time to time, but probably once a quarter, maybe once a month, depending on who it is. I think that's the realistic life of my local. Because if it had only been a couple months, I think we would have made it through it, but it's been a year plus, and that's a million years in the gaming world. So yeah, unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna happen. If you were a Spice Girl, which would you be? We're gonna have to ask. Actually, what we'll do is, because I'm gonna come back and edit this, I'm actually gonna ask Amy that question. I don't know who the Spice Girls are. Isn't it like sporty and sugary and cinnamon? I don't know. So we'll cut away, and I'll ask Amy that question and put that in. Hey, Amy. So the question has been asked: if Andrew was a Spice Girl, which Spice Girl would he be?
Definitely Posh Spice. Because Andrew always wanted a sugar mama. So, what better way to end up with David Beckham?
Fair enough. Thanks, babe.
Go Commando.
Blind Squirrel, character or event from Star Wars Destiny that hasn't made its way into Destiny that really should be by now. I think so. Obviously, you guys know I want to see Bo-Katan, but I do. Oh, actually, she is in Destiny, so never even mind there. But that wasn't gonna be my answer anyway. So, I think the biggest thing is probably Apprentice ObiWan. I think that's a big opportunity missed there. We also have had 2 versions of Ahsoka, none of which I think were ideal. Like, I think it would have been cool to see like a 14-point Ahsoka. But the answer there is definitely Apprentice Obi-Wan. I think there was a lot of design space to go there. That Wookiee smell, are you religious? And if so, what religion? So I am not... It's an interesting question. I was raised... Let me just go with this. I was raised Catholic. Did First Communion and all that, but I did not confirm, mainly because I had a lot of issues with my personal church. But since I've gotten older and gone to other places for weddings and just with friends and stuff like that, I've realized that that's not what everything's not the same, right? So it was one of those cases where it was kind of a bad experience, and I think that pushed me away. And there was a lot of judgment that came out of that, or you're 13, 14, and you're making decisions. But I think in retrospect, thinking about, do I want to raise my kid religious? Both Amy and I, like, I don't think we really want to be a part of necessarily the church lifestyle, but I think we both think there's a lot of value in raising your kids in the church. So we've had those conversations, and we'll see where we go there. I don't even know the answer to that yet. But yes, I was raised Catholic. How much time does it take, Blind Scroll, how much time does it take you to put together, script, film, edit, other things I don't know have to do to make the videos, a Commando cast? So just any cast. The general rule there is 4x of the time, because I have to actually shoot it, and then I have to edit it, which at a minimum means I have to go back and watch it, right? And then generally you're stopping there. So it generally takes me about 2x the duration. Sometimes, depending on how long it is, there's actually a law of diminishing returns there, because the more talking you have, the less editing you have to do by and large. So, but generally it probably averages out to about 2x there. So there's the shoot time, there's the edit time, and then the upload images time I don't really count, because I generally do those while I'm doing other things, or I'll sit down and I'll crank out like 7 or 8 thumbnails at the same time. So that's a little bit of time, but that's generally not much. And then I'll be honest, a lot of the video, so if there's a lot of images and stuff in there, then obviously that'll take me that time as well. But that's something that I've gotten very good over the years at, like with the textbook I was writing and stuff. Like I got very good over the years at like pumping out image at lunch or between meetings or something like that. So I've gotten pretty good at that. And I'll be honest, a lot of my time for planning and scripting comes in my head when I'm out running. That's actually a great place for me to think about kind of the plans. And then I'll have to come home and jot it down in my notebooks, right, you guys? All right, the notebooks, my old man notebooks. But, that's where it generally ends up. And then we go from there. So yeah, I'd say, basically if it's a cast, probably 4x realistically in terms of kind of overall on average. Some of them more, obviously, but most of them are probably a little less than that. And then if you combine the rest of it, it's probably 4x. Eric, what character, if any, have you tried over and over to make work, but it never worked out? Interesting. I think the never worked out is subjective at different tiers of play, to be honest with you, because like I think it would be fair to say that like I tried a lot to make Jin work and she just wasn't competitive, but that was from like the tier 1 standpoint. I mean, she's probably the one I've tried the most in different ways to make work, but it wasn't competitive. But again, if Jin Cassian was a very, very good deck, right? So maybe that's not a fair answer to your question. I will say Amy and I put a lot of work into trying and making the Empire at War Ahsoka work. We really put a lot of work into that, and it just wasn't. Yeah, I think that's the answer. We really tried, because she really wanted to play Ahsoka, and it just didn't work out. But she fell in love with stairs, so that worked for her. GV Blue, favorite Star Wars Destiny deck and character non-Bo-Katan across all the sets. It's a tie, I think, between Jin Cassian, and Jin Cassian would have been my answer until 2 metas ago, but I really embraced, I think I did a really good job with Maul and Mandalorian Maul. I think that was kind of my signature deck, all in all. So I think it's a tie between those two. If I'm playing more casual, though, I tend to swing Jin Cassian. Not that Jin Cassian's necessarily a casual deck, because kind of brutal. But I really like the mill kill. Actually, for those of you who play Magic right now, there's a Dimir Rogues deck out. I've been playing that since those cards came out, basically in 2021 for the most part. I really like the mill kill type of option because it lets you be flexible in game and it can let you disrupt. So that's what I prefer. I think Jin Cassian probably there's the best one. All right, a two-parter. Or not two-parter, but double question. So Swagdean says, as Dice Commando was originally front around IRL play, but during COVID the team has become international. How will you address team cohesion once IRL play is viable again? Where do you see the channel going after COVID is said and done? Yeah, great questions, guys. Last one from Sparks, Nevada. So basically the question is, how are you going to incorporate IRL and non-IRL play? I don't think they have to be one or the other. I think that both. We've already seen a ramp down of IRL play for Destiny, and I think that will largely continue. I will be honest. Did I say IRL? We've seen a ramp down in even the virtual play of Star Wars Destiny lately. And I'll be honest, over the last couple months, sometimes I have to force games. Like I have to go sit on and wait for an hour, and sometimes the games aren't like high quality or necessarily, the best games. And we're kind of just pumping out content for the purpose of trying to hit that daily limit or daily feed. And I think having the option to both of them, I think is going to help a lot because it'll let us toss a game. Like if there's a bad game, I can just toss it instead of worrying about not having content. So I don't think the two are going to be mutually exclusive. I have every intention of keeping the Dice Commando team going, even hoping that maybe we can kick up a Dice Commando team type thing for Flesh and Blood, but I need to figure out how to do that. Like as we've talked about, the communities are very, very different, and I love what we have right now, and I don't want to add in something that will disrupt that and ruin it. So I need to figure out how to basically isolate the Destiny people from the Fab people and kind of figure that out over time. All right. What does the Empire... this is from Riceman, the Legion question. What does the Empire need, in your opinion, to become a viable threat in competitive tournaments? I don't know. Actually, let's see. I think the LAATLE being able to... Because Vader sucks, right? But the LAATLE might make Vader not suck. So I think that's my answer there, Matt, is... Let's see how that changes things. It's not going to be a Shore gun line anymore. Not going to be a 3x3x3. But maybe that's a good thing, right? Because I think that's not necessarily working. So, all right, Jay Danger. What are a few guilty pleasure songs you enjoy but won't tell the homies? All right, so that's a great question. So I grew up listening. Like in my middle school years, I was a big Metallica fan. I still am. I like that. The Pearl Jam era type grunge rock, that's really what I kind of evolved with, grew up with. I like, I generally like that type of rock music. The problem is in Portland, there's our rock station kind of sucks, and they're still playing like AC. Like let's be honest, like stuff that was on when I was in middle school probably deserves to like legit be on the oldie station at this point, right? And like our rock station is playing like AC/DC and Led Zeppelin still, which is completely fine, but like that's probably oldies. So anyway, my point is a lot of times I'll flip on Z100 and just kind of enjoy it. And like there's some good stuff that comes across. Like there's some good stuff. Rihanna's the direct answer to your question is Rihanna's S&M. I actually really like that song. I know that one's actually dated too, but I actually like that song. I think it's pretty good. All right, triple parter. Commando Con. So all of these have to do with Commando Con. So I've seen chatter about Commando Con in a perfect world post-COVID. Do you foresee this becoming a reality with the support of your Commando team from Liquid Snake? Swagdean, if Commando Con were to happen, how would you like to format a weekend event, pick a dream beer sponsor, and Sparks Nevada, just when is Commando Con? So this is a dream I have. I think the biggest challenge we're going to have in doing this, so that's let me open with that. The biggest challenge we're going to have in doing this is how small it'll be and actually keeping it affordable, considering people would have to travel. So what I want to do, I've given this a lot of thought, so stick with me here. There's a place near me called McMiniman's Roadhouse. It's near where I used to live. They have a octagonal barn that's super awesome that you can rent out, and I think like generally the minimum is, I think it's like $1,000 or something like that in food, and they'll give you the venue for free. So I'd like to have that for one night for kind of like our intro night. They just kind of hang out and hang out and make some poor decisions. And then I'd like to have, over the next 3 days, I'm sure we can secure this space at Gongai. I'd like to do big tournaments, like do IRL Destiny, do IRL Fab, play some Legion games. I'd like to do legit DC panels. I'd like to get a chance to meet everybody in person and have everybody else meet everybody in person. I also want to do it during summer because it's really nice in Oregon. It's just Pacific Northwest has gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous late summers. And the wine here is awesome. Amy and I are members at a winery, and I'd like to do a wine bus that goes out one day. But then again, the challenge is, if we're only 100 people, how do we afford that, or how do we make it affordable? Not how do we afford it, how do we make it affordable? Because obviously it's one of those self-exclusionary things where it becomes too expensive, especially with people traveling. Then it becomes more expensive, or you can't do as much, and it's not worth it. So I think that's the main problem, is how to do it in the family. And when I say family friendly, I don't mean I especially don't mean family friendly and like you can bring your kids type of thing, but I mean, how do we keep it Dice Commando friendly, right? With hanging out with the buddies that we want to hang out with, while keeping it affordable. I think that's the logistic challenge we're going to have to deal with. The other part of that would be, literally, I can't be in multiple places at the same time, so I'd probably have to bring in people to help, which obviously is, I know all you guys would step up to help, but I want you guys to enjoy and have fun too, right? So, yeah, but Commando Con is definitely something I want to do. It would likely be late summer, so we're probably going to miss that. I mean, it would be probably 2022. Yeah, and maybe, maybe the answer is we don't go as grand on it and we do something less formal. But I think it's a very real thing where we get together and I'll just have to go buy a whole bunch of video cards and we'll just record half a year's content in one weekend, right? Like, I think that would be a great time. Commando Con is something I really want to do. But yeah, we'd have a big, hopefully we work with ARH and we'd have like a regional level tournament or a national level tournament there. And, for Fab, for Fab, you'd probably have to do prize money to get anybody to care. I don't know. But we'd do a Fab tournament at least in-house, and people get to see Gongai and meet all the people, and I'm sure Mike could be there, and yeah, good times. Simon, Big Med Sci, how have you found becoming a parent? Yeah, it's been, I'm old, I'm almost 40, and there's a lot of things I don't have to deal with that a 22-year-old has to deal with. In fact, I'm pretty financially secure. I don't have to deal with a lot of those challenges. But man, from an energy standpoint, it would be really nice. If I had a kid when I was 22, he'd be leaving the house right now, right? So there's definitely advantage to doing it when you're younger, for sure. I think the main problem I had, he's pretty great right now, but I think the main problem I had early was that when I was on leave and I was taking family leave and I was on home with him, and Amy was working from home. I think what they don't tell you going in when you're leaving the hospital and stuff is that moms work really hard, and everybody knows that, but they do get the appreciation for it in terms of, just stick with me, in terms of, if a baby's throwing a fit at the store and it's with the mom and the mom's trying, people are like, oh man, being a mom's really hard. But if the kid's crying its ass off with the dad, they're like, oh, it's just one of those dads that doesn't know what he's doing, right? So that was one of the challenges I had, was because Amy was working from home while I was on leave. Whenever the baby would cry, I knew it was disrupting her, plus she was thinking that I wasn't able to handle it. So that was really hard, because, if in a normal world, if I was home with the baby and she was gone, she wouldn't know the baby was losing it. So that was one of the biggest challenges I've had so far. But I'm sure I'll run into additional challenges once he's just starting to talk. We say uh-oh and we say ball and dog. But once he starts talking back, we're going to have issues, I'm sure, because I'm headstrong. All right. Two questions from Bassmaster. What are some things that frustrate you about running a community like this, and what in turn do you enjoy most about it? What I enjoy most about it, very clear. It's the people. Again, the amount of money that I earn doing this is not why I do it. I think that's very clear. What are things about frustrate you about running a community like this? Yeah. I think the things that frustrate me the most about running a community like this isn't necessarily the community, but it's the kind of the fringe elements. We already talked way earlier about the problems I ran into with solo mode and around that. But I think it's I got a comment the other day on one of my videos. It's really looking forward to constructed play and deck techs. Right, and this was on a Fab video. And this is a person who, so I'll put up, I actually screenshotted it, right? Person didn't like the video, is not a subscriber, and is like, it's great that you have this, but do it this way instead. It's like, dude, I've got 2,000 subs and we've been doing this for 3 years. Like, I'm not going to change the way that we're running the channel just for you, right? And I think that's been one of the hardest things of doing this, is that part of it, of these people think that because they are who they are, that they can make you change your mind, right? Like, you know, from time to time we'd have, I remember when I first started covering Fab and Fab players started subscribing, they would actually start disliking the Destiny videos. And I was like, guys, like, really? Like, and I know it was them because I could go back and geograph, like I have a screenshot somewhere, I'm not going to go back and look it up, but it was within that 2-week period of getting a dislike on every single Destiny video. I looked up the geography where it was coming from. They were all coming from New Zealand, right? And it was like, it's very clear that a Fab guy is disliking all of the Destiny videos. And I'm like, why? Like, what do you think? I'm suddenly just going to stop covering Destiny because you want to see Fab, right? So that kind of level of quote unquote entitlement really bothers me. And I think that's the main thing, is because we're out here and doing the work, a lot of people think that we owe them something. And I think that's been another one of the, you know, to speak to Simon's way earlier question, I think that's been one of the challenges to deal with. And then one of the things that bothers me, just from, you know, from a life point of view, that comes a lot doing this, is people who aren't willing to like do any sort of work in terms of like looking for an answer. They just immediately ask the question. But it's funny because a lot of times people will like track me down through various forms of social media and ask a question. And I'm like, it probably took you more time to figure out how to contact me than it did to just Google it, right? But again, that's just me from, you know, again, I'm an old man who, you know, believes in working for stuff, and I know that's not necessarily the way everybody thinks. So, but no, those are good questions, Bassmaster. Thank you. All right, Liquid Snake, if you could do an interview with anyone in the world, past or present, who would it be and what would you ask? So this was one of my favorite questions. I was looking forward to this one. The answer is Mariska Hargitay, aka Olivia Benson from SVU. And it's not because I want to do her or anything, that's not it. But it's because she is an actress, as an actor, has been playing that character for so long. I would really like to have a conversation and get her feeling on how, you know, Olivia Benson, the character, has to have become a part of Mariska Hargitay's life, and like, how do you separate who you are from that? And I mean, that's something I'm not an actor. I don't have any background whatsoever in that, and that's something that really fascinates me, is how can you play the same character for so long, and what are the effects of that to you in your life? I would really like to have that conversation. My backup would be Tony Stark. No, but again, him as an actor. Again, we've been doing this for an hour and I'm blanking because we're just talking at screen. See, that's what happens, guys, when you're doing this. Believe it or not, sometimes you forget what you're talking about and can't think of things that you normally know. But yeah, the actor that plays Tony Stark, I can't remember, but he's done a lot of great stuff as well, and like, he's done so many different roles, and he's so funny and he's so good. I'd love to have a chat with him as well. But Mariska Hargitay is definitely my number one. I'd love to buy her. Well, she probably drinks martinis or something, but I'll buy her a drink, whatever. Kylo Sprin, aka Kylo's friend, love you, buddy. How was your experience playing Destiny in Washington? It was great. I met, with the exception of one person up there, and I think everybody, I'm not going to talk about it, but I think everybody here knows who it is. I met a lot of good people up there. Jeff, I don't know if Jeff still watches this or not. I've lost track of him during the pandemic, unfortunately. I was hoping to, I have a race I'm hoping to go to the race in Olympia with Turbo this summer. I know we've retired, but we'll just go up there and kind of trot around it. But hoping to hook up with Jeff then. Met a lot of really good people. I mean, you obviously, Kylo, or Wyatt, and your guys up there. I know we don't talk as much, but just good people. I mean, that's Destiny in general, is good people, right? So, yeah. What is your line of work? Why did you choose it? That Wookiee smell. So I'm an engineer, which is kind of a general statement. So what I actually do, I work for a large tech company in the manufacturing fab, which is, you know, our factory. I'm a process technology development engineer by title, what that really means is that I'm a manager, so I manage a team. Been a manager for like 10 years now, which is kind of crazy, like 9 years probably, something like that. I've been at that company for almost 14 years, I think. Started in 08. No, sorry. Yeah. Almost, so 13, 14. All right. Anyway, so basically what we do is we take, somebody comes up with the how to build it. And it's my job, it's our job to build 10 million of them a day for a fraction of the cost, right? That's in a nutshell what we do. We take the prototype, not really the prototype, we take the working design and we make it manufacturable, right? So sometimes I'll say I'm a manufacturing guy because I understand manufacturing pretty well, I think, but also the process development part of it, I'm a wet etch engineer, which means I'm a glorified dishwasher, but basically my job is to go in and clean up the gunk after the plasma etchers and the dry etchers go in and do their thing. So that is what I do to keep the lights on. That's what I do. Why did I choose it? So I'm not going to be shy about saying this. I was good at chemistry and I was okay at math. I didn't like math because math's one of those things to me where math is just a tool that we use. Like math is not actually a thing. Right? Math is just a tool we use to understand the universe, right? So I didn't mind, like I actually enjoyed practical math, like, trigonometry and stuff. I enjoyed stuff like that. Anyway, getting off topic. So point is I was okay at math. I was really great at chemistry. I really enjoyed it. I had a really great teacher. And, everyone started asking the question, well, why don't you be an engineer? I was like, oh, that doesn't seem like a horrible idea. So I looked into it and was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then chemical engineering, at the time was the highest paid engineering. This was on the verge of the internet age, and oil and gas was doing quite well in the late 90s, so that's why chemical engineering was so high. And I was like, okay, chemical engineering is the highest, I'll go there. So that's why I started chemical engineering. That is what I got my degree in. I also and I was going through that, and at the time that the company I work for was moving into this area very aggressively from California, which they couldn't afford to be in. And I was teaching swim lessons at the time to, quite frankly, a bunch of really rich kids, because the company, like if you were selling your home in LA and moving up to like effectively rural Oregon, you could buy a house that was 8 times the size and bank like $1 million, right? So, I mean, not quite that much, but a lot of money is my point. So I was teaching swim lessons to some rich kids, and I was like, man, I'm going to go work for this company. And that was what I wanted to do, and that's what I have done. But in the process of doing that, I think it was my junior year, they decided that they were no longer going to hire bachelor students, and they were only going to hire students with PhDs. So that was kind of a setback. And then I found out later that year that in engineering, generally you don't have to pay to go to grad school. You can actually get a small stipend. So that's what I decided to do. Was I stayed down there. I went to Tulane University. I stayed down there, and I got my PhD down there. I was able to do that in 4 years, which was a win. I actually have a patent. It's over there on the wall, but you don't need to see it. But I have a patent in nanotechnology process. I have a patent on a nanotechnology process, or process to make nanoparticles. I'm talking about my own thesis, like I don't know what the hell it was about, right? But so, and then at the end of that, I was able to leverage that into a job at the company. It was kind of funny. I mean, it wasn't funny, but Hurricane Katrina hit while I was down there, and I lost most everything. I was out of school for 6 months because the whole area was just devastated. I came back up here, lived with my parents, and basically played I'm a hurricane refugee card, and I was able to leverage that into, through a lot of help and knowing people, I was able to get an internship at my company, which eventually I believe helped me get the job that I got. So that was kind of a lemons to lemonade type deal there. But, again, losing everything you own in grad school is not much, right? So, but yeah, and then I went there. So it was probably a longer explanation than you want, but that's kind of my life history on why I chose it and how I got here. But, it's just life. Things happen and you figure it out as you go, right? All right, two-parter. If you'd have to create another die side for Destiny, what would it roughly do? That's from Eric. And then Swagdean, if you would create a new die symbol, what would it do? I combine these two. The answer is very simple. I would create a draw. I'd like to see I think a symbol that would let you draw a card, I think would be really maybe too good, right? We'd have to value that correctly. I think the only reason we haven't seen something like that right now is because effectively special works like that functionally. Like you could just have a special draw a card. But I think it would be neat to have a die that drew a card. I think that'd be a really easy one. I mean, we all know how valuable drawing cards is in Star Wars Destiny from a reroll standpoint. I think it'd be really cool. Pineapple on a pizza, yes or no? So yes, definitely. Not yes, definitely. Actually, pineapple pizza was my favorite pizza growing up. I went down to New Orleans and my taste changed a little bit just because the food down there is amazing, and I kind of fell in love with the place down the street from school that did a sweet barbecue chicken pizza. But then you can actually put Old Chicago, which I go to all the time, has a Hawaiian pizza that has chicken and stuff on it. So you can kind of do both. But yeah, pineapple belongs on a pizza. Yep. What do you think was the worst FFG artwork on a card from Swagdean? I mean, I think Rookie Pilot takes the cake on that, right? There's also the derpy, was Benicio del Toro? No, I see all these names are escaping me because I'm not scripted for this, right? But there's also the really derpy DJ. But I think Rookie Pilot likes pretty bad up there. Echo 3 Clubs, is there a mechanic from another card game you think could work, be adapted into Destiny? Oh man, great question. If you'd asked me this a year ago, I would have had the answer. Now I don't. Again, we talked about 7th Sea earlier. One of my favorite things from that game was that you could, quote unquote, experience the characters. So if you were to draw, it was telling the story of these various characters, and you could have, like, let's say a 4-point character that starts your team. And then if you were to draw the higher version of them, you could lay it down on top of them. Kind of like Pokemon, actually. Not actually kind of the same as Pokemon, actually, in terms of that. And then there was another game I played back in the day called Babylon 5, which had all sorts of problems. But one of the really cool things they did is, you also, and that was another game where you started with your ambassador in play, and you could I think it was experience, whatever. You could replace characters, and you do conflicts, and they could earn a destiny mark or a shadow mark or a whatever mark, and you'd have these cards where draw, like, if I had Ambassador Malari is the one that comes to mind, right? If Ambassador Malari would get 2 shadow marks, you could turn him into Emperor Malari or Grand Emperor or whatever, right? And so anyway, that's to say the experienced mechanic is something I would have brought 100% to Destiny, but they did that with the flippable cards in transformations. I do think that's a really cool. I think it's a really cool mechanic and concept. I don't know that it actually works in Destiny very well, to be honest with you, but I do think that probably it belongs in Destiny. I would have done it different. I would have had it been probably a card from deck, but I think it's creative. It works. So I hope that answers your question. It kind of doesn't, because it's like, not what would I bring, but that was where my head was at. Anyway, Swagdean, if you could play mono color for one faction, hero, villain going forward, which would you pick? Probably red villain. Just because I've always been attracted, like, the stormtroopers or the clones or something like that. And red villain seems to be probably more functional in terms of that. Death troopers and your troopers on the field, right? A grunts type of thing. What is your favorite aspect of Star Wars Destiny? My favorite part, so this is from Bassmaster. Great question, Bassmaster. My favorite aspect of Star Wars Destiny is how approachable it is, right? It's not the game itself, but it's how approachable the game is in basically every facet. It's really easy to look. It's super complex, but it is a lot more complex than people give it credit for, right? I think most of the Destiny guys who are still around know that. But it's very, like, you can play it with your kid, and you can play it with people who've never played it before, and it's Star Wars, and it was a relatively cheap game. Like, I know there's people out there who think it was too expensive, but, like, it's not compared to the other products out there. Like, Destiny was, Destiny brought me back to card gaming, to IRL card gaming, because I was like, I can actually play. I saw it, like, I got into it on release day. I saw it before, and I was like, I can play this game with people who've never played games before, right? And that's we talked about that way back, probably an hour ago at this point, about Fab. I can't say that about Fab, right? I can't say I can teach this to somebody who has no gaming background. And there's a lot of other games out there that you can't. Pokemon, maybe, but I think most people just get into Pokemon to collect and then learn the game. And I mean, maybe that's an aspect of Destiny, but it's definitely how approachable it was. I mean, from the game standpoint, I love that everything always changes in terms of the dice. I do love that aspect of it as well. But it's certainly, more than anything, it's how approachable the game itself as a product was. And I mean, and as a community, but I think those two lended into each other, right? I mean, I think that is why overall, side note here, I think that is overall why the Destiny community evolved to be what it was, which was different than any other gaming community, because it had a different pipeline, right? You brought in people who normally wouldn't have touched these type of games with a 10-foot pole, and then they were into the community, and they didn't bring the same stuff that the other people who are already there would do. So I think that's a large part of why Destiny is and continues to be what it is. Big Med Sci, what are the best and worst things about content creation? Yeah, so I think I kind of did some of that earlier. I mean, the best thing is, let me tell a story, actually. So we were doing, I think it was it was one of the reasons, I'm pretty sure it was the Redemption release. And I sat down versus, it was like my second round opponent. And he said, hey, before we get started, I just wanted to thank you because I wake up every morning and I watch your video with my coffee. And like that meant so, like I'm even getting like teary about it. Like that meant so, like I put so much work into doing this, right? As you guys know, like that meant so much to me that just like, you know, like he wasn't a channel supporter. Like he's not like giving me money. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that wasn't about anything. Like he said, thank you for making my day better. And like, I thought that was pretty freaking awesome. That actually, it continued, like I said, I'm actually getting teared up right now. Like it meant a lot. And that's by far the best thing, like interacting with you guys. And yeah, I mean, that's probably been the best. Like, you know, you guys are all amazing. And like, it's funny that you hone in on little things like I do, but like, that really meant a lot. And, you know, I'm just like, that's just one example, but like stuff like that all the time. It's like, thank you for doing this. And, you know, you've made my day and you've taught me something. And that's really great. The worst thing is, yeah, the other side of that, which is there's some people who are just out to be mean. And, you know, you try to have a thick skin and get over it, but sometimes, and you guys know how it is with positive and negatives, especially if you're like me, which tends to be, I mean, as an engineering mind, my mind, I'm trained to think about what can go wrong and prevent it and focus in on the things that are wrong. And the human brain also, like, you can have 99 people tell you you're amazing and then one person tell you you're a jerk, and you think about the person who called you a jerk for the weekend, right? And I think that's definitely the worst thing about putting yourself out there, especially when you are trying to approach things fairly and from a level-headed standpoint. Because, you know, a lot of people just speak purely out of emotion. And, I mean, we've seen that in politics and everything in the world these days, right? So that's definitely the worst thing. But, you know, the best thing, the people who say, you know, like, again, it was like I sit down and I watch your video every morning with my coffee, and thank you. And like that was freaking awesome. Right, Swagdean, as Flesh and Blood grows, do you think you will continue to specialize on Ranger and Warrior and trade sell items for the other heroes? So what I'm going to do likely is I'm going to focus in on probably each set that comes out. Because I do plan on buying with each set, I'll probably pick one. In the case of the new set, I've actually honed in on two, but that's because I can mostly... Well, maybe, I mean, I guess not technically with Bolton being light and technically needing new stuff, but I'll likely focus on one hero out of each set, each major set. That's likely what I'll do. I guess I've got two that I'm focusing on, but again, Prism's pretty cheap, so... But yeah, that's likely what I'll do. I don't ever see myself, like, in Destiny, like, in Destiny, Amy and I had, at any given time, we'd have, like, 10 decks made with proxies and stuff like that, and I just don't see myself going there with this. I'll probably just have, you know, my one deck from each set, I would think. Favorite Destiny meta from Echo 3 of Clubs, and what set meta do you feel that Destiny was at its best? It's probably it depends on which set it was, but the Legacy's Way of the Force meta, right? Going into that world where it was Stairs, Kylo, and Sarah's Kylo and Sabine. Again, I wasn't a huge fan of Sabine, but I think that was the healthiest. I think that was the healthiest Destiny meta we've ever seen. The decks were not overly complicated. There was Blue Hero and there was Kylo and it was Kylo Anakin. That's what it was, right? Emo kids. That's right, or not emo. Yeah, emo kids. Whatever. I think that was a great one. That was a great, and Amy. So it was also fun because that was a meta that spoke. Like Amy was playing Stairs. She really liked that Ayla Ray deck. She got pretty good with it. She played it for a long time. She was happy. And when your friends are enjoying it and anybody can win on any given day and everybody's into it, it makes it a lot of fun as well. I think not only was that the healthiest meta, but I think it was probably the most fun meta. I mean, we had Talzin, so many decks, man. Like you had Talzin. Hell, I had, the Talzin vet, and Talzin was all over the place, and Talzin Dooku, and you even had a mill deck in there, and yeah, I mean, at the end of that, yes, that became Mill Apocalypse, so I grant you that maybe got unhealthy at the end there, but that mid-range there where, yeah, anyway, that was the top meta. All right, GV Blue, outside of gaming, what do you like to do with your free time? Does a content creator with a young kid have any free time? No. I spend the majority of my free time. Well, I mean, right now it's been different because we're working from home. So basically you're kind of always on, but you have bigger breaks during the day. But I have to, in order to do everything that I do, I have to be pretty regimented with my schedule. So I don't have a ton of free time, but I guess what I do right now, the answer right now is Legion painting. Sometimes that'll just let me zone out because you have to be completely focused and I can turn off my brain. Because as I mentioned earlier, like it used to be I'd go run or I'd work out to clear my mind, but now I think about cast stuff. And I mean, I was thinking, when I was busy writing my textbook years ago, I would actually think about that when I was at the gym. So painting's really been my only mental outlet lately. Top 3 favorite board card games. I do have to say we really like Cards Against Humanity because it's a great party game. Really like that one. So cards, top 3. I do think Destiny's in there, in the kind of the way that we've made it. Third one. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I don't know. This probably sounds dumb, but it probably is Magic. Like, just because it's always been there, but not necessarily like my favorite. Like, I can't say that I necessarily enjoy quote unquote. Like, I don't like always have fun playing it, but like Magic serves a purpose. But I know it sounds dumb, but yeah, Cards Against Humanity is a great party game. Destiny, and then I guess Magic. I reserve the right to reserve the right to change that as I go through this. Eric, any particular good IRL play meetup stories that you'd like to share? This is going to sound like a cop out, Eric, but most of them. Destiny has been a really good experience overall. I mean, my claim to fame, quote unquote, was winning that GQ in Portland where I took down Lucas Litzinger in the last round, playing the mirror match actually. That was pretty cool. And it was actually, yeah, so this is a good story. So at the end, I had taken him out on a tactical because I was playing Talzin Vet, I'd taken him out on a tactical mastery. And he asked me, because he was expecting another one, and he asked me, well, where's your second tactical master? And I told him, I was like, I actually only have one because my wife needed our other one for her deck because Amy was playing Talzin Callus, I think. Either way, Amy needed one, so we split them, and we each had one because we only had them from the 2-player sets. And he goes, oh, and just gives me his tactical mastery from his deck because we were done. Like, I thought that was pretty awesome. And if in retrospect, I would have had him sign it if I thought about it at the time, but I was, just played 6 rounds of Destiny trying to win, and I was exhausted. What is your favorite? So Sparks Nevada, what is your all-time favorite Destiny character pairing to play as? Jin Cassian. Yeah, that's my favorite for sure, without a doubt. I really like that Milk Hill. Kylo Spren, what are some of the people you are glad you met through Destiny? I mean, a cop-out here is all of them. But my locals for sure. I mean, more than anything, it's my locals, because that's where we started. I mean, I was playing Destiny long before we were making content, and if the community locally hadn't been good people, we wouldn't have done it, right? I mean, I've met Mike, who, even if all card games in the world were burned up, I think we'd still be friends. I think. Derek from Gange Games is someone who I would also consider to be like a friend if everything went away. Sean Cowan from Bunsen Brewer. Just my locals who we really made a community here before we even thought really globally. I'm leaving a ton of people out, like my buddy, like all the locals I couldn't be more happy for. Like my buddy Steve, who comes over, and like we both try to get away from the babies, and Nathaniel's been someone who I've enjoyed meeting, and Josh Schott is an amazing individual. And I mean, what am I'm supposed to sit here and name everybody, and I just can't do it. But I do want to give a lot of credit through the people who I'm glad I've met are the people who would continue to be the people who I'm most glad I've met, I think, are the people who I believe will continue to be my friends, even when the card apocalypse comes and there's no more games to play, right? That's what I think, right? People who come to my wedding and stuff like that, right? I mean, I've met people that way. So hopefully that's not a cop out on your question, but it is. I mean, let's do it the other way. There's only a handful of people who I regret having met through gaming, through Destiny. Well, not through gaming, but through Destiny. And I think that's a pretty amazing thing considering what it is, right? Favorite song to perform at karaoke? All right, folks. So leaving you with that. That one was not random. That one was intentionally put at the end to leave it off. I thought that was a great question, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that. So that's it. What are we at? Hour 20. Yeah, so we're definitely well into this. So probably watching this over multiple sittings, but hopefully you've had a drink and you sat down and enjoyed it as well. But thank you guys. I don't know. How do I get not too sappy getting out of here about this, right? But I appreciate the fact that we're even here able to have this conversation, and the fact that you guys care enough to still be here and be a part of this. And I'm not great at the emotional type stuff, but it means a lot. And I hope that I bring as much. I mean, I know, we work together and we have a lot of fun and we get stuff out, but I enjoy doing this. And I know because you guys are involved that you guys enjoy it too. So we really have created something special here. I really do believe that. And I hope we can continue doing it for a long, long, long time. So thanks guys for your questions today, for getting us to where we are. Maybe we'll do this again at 5K. I don't know, man, what would the rate be? Another 3.5 years. So no, we'll see. But again, thanks guys for everything. Again, don't forget that, if you're watching this and you're not on our Discord, you're not involved in the team, come think about getting involved. Like we do some pretty awesome stuff, guys. So at the very least, come be on our Discord and hang out and figure out how we can all get some games in together. So I think that'll do it for tonight, folks. And man, I'm actually impressed. In an hour and I've only gone through that much, so I've got some catching up to do. So I'm going to get out of here and get that catching up. But again, thank you everyone, and go Commando. Thank you.